Hi, I'm Carl Dixon, and this will be a lesson on playing Caixa and Cima in samba. We'll go over holding the drum and the grip and technique for both hands, some exercises to get a little bit more comfortable with that, and then the most common pattern for this instrument. Everything I'll say about holding the drum and the sticks and playing this instrument is really personal to me, and there's lots of ways to do it that are correct and work great. What I'll go over, again, works for me, and I think it'll help you get started. So I hold the drum in the palm of my hand here, putting the palm right over the rim of the drum. Basically, if you can hold that out straight in front of you, then you're kind of balancing it well. And then I want to get this other rim here, not out to the side and not in the middle of my chest, but right in the corner of where my shoulder is here. Nice spot for the drum to rest there. So I want this edge of the drum to rest right in here. And then I'll support the side of the drum on my arm here. So I have these 3 points, the corner in my shoulder, the bottom of my arm holding the drum, and then the palm of my hand wrapped around the rim of the drum here. That way I'm really stable, and the drum's not going to fall or move around while I'm playing. And I can support the weight of the drum with the least effort as possible, keeping it closer to me and letting it just hang off my shoulder. And really importantly, it frees up my fingers to move the stick. So I'm using my arm and my hand to hold the drum so that my fingers can play with the stick. In my left hand, I use a pretty short stick. If the stick is too long, then it's kind of hard to maneuver. So a shorter one just helps keep it more in control. For the grip here, you can start with the way you normally hold a stick here, with your thumb and your first finger across from each other. And then just open it up and use these fingers to move the stick in and out. I take my little 2 fingers here and put it on the opposite side of the stick, so I can use these fingers to push the stick into the drum, and these 2 fingers to pull it back out. This is also kind of similar to the traditional grip, which you might use to play a caixa on a strap, embaixo, below. Except that instead of having the stick back here, I would kind of push it out to the end of my thumb. Now, with the drum in a stable position and my hand holding the rim here, my fingers are free to grip this stick. So I have the stick kind of anchored in here with my thumb, and my fingers holding the end of the stick here. I want to get the tip of the stick pretty close to the center of the drum, so that it gets a bigger sound, a louder sound. And also, so I have a big range of movement with the stick. So I get it way out here, so when I bring the stick in, it gets a loud sound to balance the loud sounds that I'll get with my right hand. So if you have the stick all on the edge, it might be hard to get a lot of sound out of that, so it'll be hard to get a good balance between the hands. So I want to get the stick here pretty close to the center, and again, I'm using my hand here to just hold on to the drum, and just my fingers to open up the stick and play here. If you end up, this is a common thing, sort of using your fingers and your wrist together like we normally do to play drums, then you'll end up with something like this, which you can see is I'm already kind of losing control over the drum and it drifts around. What helps me a lot is to just hold on to the drum with my hand and then just use my fingers to move the stick and get the sound. With a caixa like this, with pretty tight heads and pretty tight snare wires, there's not much difference between the sound of the drum when you play with a stroke that bounces off the head and one that just stops on the head. In other words, a dead stroke. right? Pretty much the same sound. So the dead stroke actually helps me sometimes play a little bit louder to get more sound from this hand, and actually helps control the drum, because when you have the stick pressed into the head, you're kind of holding on to it a little bit tighter, so it's easier to keep it stable. So you don't want to press too hard with the stick, but letting the stick rest on the head after each time can kind of help you keep the drum more secure and sometimes gets more sound. Now the right hand. I use, again, a shorter stick, just a couple inches shorter than a normal drumstick. And instead of holding it sort of in the middle, like where I would for a normal drumstick, I hold it way at the end, actually with the end of the stick in my hand. That gives a really heavier feel to the stick. So all the weight is out here and there's none down here. Then instead of kind of holding more in line with my arm like I would for playing other instruments, what helps me is keeping a right angle here, basically making a square angle between my forearm and the stick. And then instead of using sort of your wrist and your fingers together like you would playing a flat drum, all of the movement is really going to come from your elbow in this rotation. So if you get the stick out here at this right angle and then just twist your arm in and out, you should get a big movement here from the stick. And that's going to go straight into the drum and bounce back really easily and get a lot of movement and a lot of sound with not much effort. To get a good sound with the right hand, I want the stick to touch the head pretty close to the center. Not right on the wires because you'll end up breaking them. I play sort of right below, as close to the center as I can get for the biggest sound. So I have this right angle here, and I'm using my elbow to rotate the stick. I just want to line that up and hit right near the center and get a good bounce every time. So I can be really loose with the grip here, just enough to not drop the stick, and let the bounce of the drum push the stick way out here, and then just keep kind of throwing it back into the drum. The first thing you can do to get both hands working together is just alternate. So try to get the same sound and a consistent rhythm between both hands. And to start from there, and then just add a little bit of accent, you can turn that into a really basic Caixa pattern that works with any kind of samba. Slow, fast, and it can work along with Caixa patterns from any samba schools. So I'll put a little bit of accent on the downbeat and a little bit on the one that comes right before the beat in my weak hand. That gives it a little bit of groove and a little bit of swing. The next sound to add is the rim shot, hitting both the rim and the head at the same time. So that gives a higher pitch and a kind of different sound compared to the just hitting in this middle of the drum, right? And that other sound will really give you a melody in the rhythm just on the one drum. So if you start with the stick in the middle of the drum where you were before, and then just move it down a little bit, and then line up the rim and the head at the same time, and then use the same stroke, you'll get this sound. Right? If you play if you leave the stick in the same spot and you play a rim shot here, it ends up getting a really harsh sound, and it doesn't get the change in pitch that you get when you move the stick down here. So you're hitting only like an inch and a half or 2 inches from the end of the stick. That should line up on the rim to get that sound there. So you can practice alternating, just one in the center and then one lower to get the rim shot. Now, a lot of drummers that have studied the snare drum in other musical situations have the idea that the rim shot is always a super loud accent. You have like normal notes, and then accented normal notes, and then rim shots that are extra, extra loud. On the Caixa, that's not true. The rim shot is more of a separate sound, but not any louder than the normal accents. And actually, in context, to play samba, the notes in the center of the drum, the ones that are going to be on the beat, should actually be louder, or at least as loud as the rim shots on the edge. So when you alternate those two sounds, try to alternate the tone, but play with the same dynamic and not extra loud on the rim shots. So that's easy to do if you just play with the same stroke, not extra big on the rim shots, right? Now you can take that and add the left hand in between each note and get exercise number 3. From there, we'll just change the rhythm and the sticking a little bit with the right hand to get the basic Caixa and Cima pattern. So look at number 4. So 2 in the center together, then the next group of 2, the first one on the rim, and the second one in the center. From there, just alternate between the rim and the center again. So once you have that, you'll get the whole pattern just by filling in the spaces with the left hand. We'll start with just the first beat. This is number 5. So 2 with the right in the center, 1 with the left, then 2 with the right, the first one on the rim, then the center. Now we'll add the second beat. So we'll start with that first beat, and then just alternate hands and have the right hand alternate between the center, the rim, and back to the center. Now instead of stopping, we'll just continue alternating, and that'll give us the most common samba pattern for Caixa and Cima. So number 8, 9, and 10 are all the same sticking and all the same sounds, just some slight differences in the accents. So to start out with, don't worry about any of that. Just play all of it as even as you can to make sure that you get the rhythm as even as you can. Once you have that, then you can try putting the accents in slightly different places. So first, just accent on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I didn't extra accent the rim shots. That would sound like. Instead, I'm accenting on the beat, which ends in the center, not so much on the rim shot. Next, in number 9, you can add a rim shot on the accent that comes right before beat 2. Number 10 has less accent on the second beat and more on the first 2 rim shots. These 3 accent patterns are still essentially the same rhythm. They all sound good together, and you can switch back and forth between any one of them while you're playing along with other people. There are a whole lot of different variations to this rhythm, and I'll get into some of those in another lesson. But the first one you should probably know is number 11. It goes like this. So the last beat is different. The 4th beat is actually the same as the first beat. So if you've listened to or played samba on the pandeiro, then you should recognize this rhythm because it's the same as one of the most common samba rhythms for the pandeiro. I call this samba de roda. So on the Caixa, your right hand is going to do exactly the same thing that it does on the pandeiro. You have the 2 sounds here on the open tone and the slap. That's exactly the same as this. The open tone is the same as the center on the Caixa, and the slap is the same as the rim shot on the Caixa. And again, you want those 2 sounds to be even in volume so that you hear the melody back and forth between the 2 sounds. So here it is on the pandeiro again. And here it is on the Caixa. And again, just like the other version, we'll fill in all those spaces with the left hand, and we get this, number 11. So you can use that as a pattern that you play continuously. You can also use it as a variation where you play the other kind of basic Caixa and Cima pattern for a while and then just play this one once in a while. Or maybe just alternate. Play one of the basic one and then one of this variation. That would sound like this. And you can have both of these going on all the time if you have more than one people playing Caixa. Some can play one, some can play the other, and you can jump back and forth between them. The last two important things are starting and stopping the way that you would in a large bateria. So coming in from the chamada, the call of the repique, you don't start right on the beginning of the pattern like we've been playing it. You'll just leave out the first beat and come in on the second beat. So you can see this in number 12. You just start 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then go right into the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then to end, you just play the first beat of the pattern like normal. And then play 2 more notes that go together with the surdo to end the rhythm. When you do this, try to keep the same groove and the same sound that you've been playing the rhythm with going instead of stopping and playing something really different at the end. So if you've been playing with this sticking that I've showed you, keep playing with that same sticking for the first beat and then just add the last 2 notes. So if I play a couple measures and then stop, you shouldn't notice any difference until the last 2 notes. And you can play those last 2 on the center or the rim shot, it doesn't really matter. So I'll play one time with the track, and you'll hear the repique chamada, the repique call. So I'll enter with the entrance and play the rhythm for a while, and then end with the ending figure. So that's it. I hope you got a good start on playing this rhythm on this instrument. And you can find the sheet of rhythms, and you can download the backing track to practice along with at carldixondrums.com. And while you're there, you can contact me and ask me any questions you have about this, and also sign up for my email list so that you get more lessons like this in the future. Thanks a lot, and happy Caixa playing.